And the search continues for 16-year-old.
I'm just worried about you calling.
Or LaTanya is still missing.
She's a liar. We're extremely shy.
We are all born into this world assuming that our parents will keep us safe, love us, and hope we have bright futures. Unfortunately for LaTanya Janelle Carwell, her parents had other plans. Take a tragic ride with us as we venture down a path of parental neglect and a murder so evil, an entire community went into shock when the truth was finally revealed. LaTanya Janelle Carwell, known to her friends, family, and community as Janelle, was born on April 17, 2001, in Palestine, Texas, and grew up in the town of Augusta, Georgia. Janelle was an incredibly intelligent young girl with plans to attend college for a law degree or medicine. As one of her pastors described her,
Janelle was loving, very intelligent, smart young woman who wanted to be a doctor, who was an honor student.
Her uncle also described her as saying,
she knows how to cook, clean, very well groomed, very well spoken.
She was a sophomore at T.W. Josie High School in Augusta, Georgia, when she disappeared the day before her 16th birthday. On Thursday, April 13, 2017, Janelle was attending her last day of school before Easter weekend. She was excited for her birthday the upcoming Monday and preparing to celebrate with her family at a large cookout. She mentioned to her language arts teacher, Lori Miles, and her peers that her family had plans to move out of Augusta soon.
Not only, should we say, the student's best friend, she's a teacher's best friend. That's when she told us that not only was her birthday coming, ready to celebrate, but there were some other things that were happening.
Her teacher, Lori Miles, said. Lori Miles also mentioned that Janelle's demeanor changed before her disappearance. She moved from the front to the back and, completely to the back. To the point where, a few days earlier, I actually brought her up to the front and said, "That's not you." It's known that when kids are having a difficult time at home, they often act out at school. Rudolf Dreikers, a psychiatrist and educator, has identified the 4 goals of misbehavior. To gain attention. If a child is not getting positive attention from their parents, they will accept negative attention. If they receive attention when they are in trouble, they will attribute it to being noticed and want more of it. Maybe Janelle felt neglected by her parents. To have power. When children have little control over a toxic environment at home, they will lash out at school to get attention. When Janelle began acting out in class, this may have been a sign of her taking power back that she wasn't achieving at home. To get revenge. Children who are punished unfairly at home will seek to inflict revenge on others to make themselves feel better. Is it possible that Janelle was taking out the pain that she endured at home on her education? To display inadequacy. If children don't feel appreciated at home or loved, they will end up feeling never good enough and often withdraw from situations. Janelle completely removed herself from her classes, and it was apparent something was severely affecting her. Could any of these scenarios relate to Janelle's sudden disinterest in learning? Her home life was clearly the answer. A few years before Janelle went missing, her mother Tanya met Leon Tripp, a convict in jail serving time for cruelty to children, aggravated assault, and other various crimes. The pair wrote letters back and forth and eventually got married while Leon was still in jail. When he was released in 2015, he was paroled to Tanya's home in Augusta, Georgia. Makita Kay, Leon's ex-wife, released this statement to concerned citizens about her experience with Leon and how she warned Tanya of his behavior. "We were married from 2003 to 2009. I met him in 2000. We have 2 girls together. Those are the only children he has." Tanya met him in prison, and she was fully warned. "I was cyberstalked while he was in jail until 2013. Leon had many charges from our incidents. All the cases you see online are from our marriage. I mailed letters to parole to prevent his release but was ignored. I have helped Lee as much as I can. I am only concerned about finding LaTanya. I lived with this man for 10 years. I am only making this one statement. I'm not on Facebook because of many reasons, and I'm trying to keep my children's privacy and peace. They have been through enough already." She mentioned that he was a good man but became angry when he was drunk. He broke into a room where their children were sleeping when she ended their relationship, which was where the cruelty to children charge came from. Can you believe a mother would bring a convicted criminal into her home with her 2 young daughters? Red flags were coming from this family since the beginning. On the afternoon of Janelle's 16th birthday, her mother called to report that her husband and daughter had not arrived home after they left the house at 1 a.m. the previous night. On the 911 phone call Tanya made, she said, Tanya claims to the dispatcher. The dispatcher says, with Tanya responding, at all. Neither one. It seemed as though her mother was upset about the unknown whereabouts of her daughter. She mentioned to the police that her husband received a call from a friend that their car had broken down in Clarks Hill, South Carolina, about 30 minutes northwest of Augusta. And he said, I didn't want to bother you, so I asked my daughter if she would go help me find Maurice. He said he had a call from a friend that was stuck on the side of the road in Clarks Hill. She claimed he apparently took her phone since he did not have GPS on it, but needed Janelle to go with him since he did not understand how to use the GPS app. Janelle's uncle, Charles Carwell, believed there had to be a premeditated situation that night, stating, it was premeditated because, this girl goes missing on her 16th birthday, and how you know she was brought out of the house just doesn't sit well with me. But he still held out hope, stating, I just believe she's in a situation where she can't get on the phone and call uncle, mom, or some kind of relative, because by now she would have reached out. 2 weeks later, after Janelle disappeared, her mother Tanya and Pastor Angela C. Harden took to Facebook Live to generate reward money for anyone who knew anything about her whereabouts. Tanya claimed her sickness was the reason she did not go along with Leon that night Janelle went missing. I do have cancer. I have brain cancer and I have lung cancer. I was inhaling too much of the smoke, so my husband told me to go in the house and lay down. So I did because I couldn't breathe. And 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, I'm calling, texting, nothing. Now, this is where the mother's story gets suspicious. First off, why are you allowing your daughter to go out in the middle of the night to find your husband's friend? In the Facebook Live video, she mentions that her husband told her to go inside to lay down, which means she must have been talking about Sunday the 16th. But then she goes on to say she was texting them between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. with no answer, even though she told the police they left after midnight. She also told reporters many times that she had spoken with the two when they were planning to return home. If your daughter went out late with your husband and neither of them was home the next morning, wouldn't you have called the police earlier? On April 26, 2017, Leon's white GMC Sierra pickup truck was found abandoned along a road less than a mile away from their home on Old McDuffie Road. We processed the truck to make sure if it was any trace evidence, any physical evidence, DNA, or anything of that nature to show signs of a struggle or something had happened, and we found none, claimed Officer Richard Roundtree, the Richmond County Sheriff. Police continued searching for clues and looked into where their cell phones pinged that night. Sheriff Roundtree said, based on those tower readings, none of it suggested that they were in the Clarks Hill area, as Leon originally had stated. Reporter Renata Dubose also claimed that she spoke to investigators, and they told her there was no call made that night from the apparent friend, Maurice. I spoke with the investigator, and he says there was no call requesting to help a friend with a car on the side of the road in Clarks Hill. Janelle was known to be extremely engaging on social media. Before the weekend of her disappearance, she was posting online constantly. But after the night of the 16th, all communication paused. Several weeks after the truck was found, citizens in Atlanta, Georgia, began calling in sightings of Leon. He was seen at various grocery stores and even driving back and forth from Augusta to Atlanta more than once. The stepfather was spotted in a location without the presence of the daughter. He had a relationship with individuals in Atlanta. He had friends there. He actually made 2 or 3 trips back and forth while we were actively looking for him and the daughter. Community outpour continued as they held vigils and created search parties to find the missing girl. Ray Montana, a community leader from CSRA Street Justice, a group of 200 to 300 volunteers helping remove crime and support at-risk individuals in Georgia, was on Facebook Live daily while looking for the teen. He organized several search parties and mentioned it was difficult for the volunteers in the 100-degree weather. Many people bailed out, ended up in the hospital, and one lady had to receive a spinal tap due to dehydration. Tanya continued to speak with the news, but constantly changed her story about exactly what happened the night her daughter disappeared. Many speculations were made regarding the whereabouts of the two, even the idea that Leon and Janelle were having an affair. When this topic was brought up to Janelle's mother, she had quite a defensive response. Really? He merited all this prettiness, and he gonna run away with our daughter? Come on now, that's stupid. The police released a warrant for Leon's arrest on kidnapping charges on May 1, 2017, but Tanya continued to deny any possibilities that her husband had done something to her daughter. TV reporter Kelly Wiley, who interviewed Tanya extensively, said she did show concern for her daughter. And I asked her, "Hey, investigators believe he's taken her." She was very defensive. She even went on the media speaking out against the sheriff's office, saying that we were wrong and we were falsely accusing him. This is the man they love. This man is not going to hurt them. 3 weeks after Leon was reportedly seen in Atlanta, police continued their search efforts and finally found him at a U-Haul storage rental facility in Atlanta, Georgia. But he was not alone. Police found him with his wife, Tanya. She claimed she was heading to Atlanta to look for Janelle and miraculously saw him on the side of the road, so she picked him up and gave him a ride. Leon then claimed that he had actually gone to Atlanta with Janelle that night instead of Clarks Hill and gave her money to take the bus back to Augusta and hadn't seen her since. Talk about complete nonsense. Both parents were put behind bars, and Tanya was charged with hindering the apprehension of a criminal. Shortly after Tanya was placed in jail, the police found out that not only was she still in contact with her husband, but she had also moved to Atlanta and had been squatting in an abandoned house with him not far from the grocery store where Leon was initially sighted. 8 weeks into the search for Janelle, the case officially became a homicide. The district attorney, Natalie Payne, told a judge in court that Leon Tripp admitted Janelle was no longer alive. However, her mother maintained her story. Sheriff Roundtree believed that Tanya knew they would never find Janelle where she claimed they should look for her. He also announced that Tanya was lying about her claims of battling cancer. The sheriff stated, "She told a very convincing story, and a lot of people went to her aid, but it's taken us that long just to peel back those layers and break down all those lies." The community felt tricked. Pastor Angela C. Harden was re-interviewed and stated, "She's a liar, in my opinion. She told a whole lot of lies. Tell where this baby is. Why are you being quiet? You're not going anywhere. You're locked up." On March 23, 2018, police announced the end of a year-long search for Janelle Carwell. They received a phone call from a citizen who was surveying the backyard of a vacant residence in Augusta, Georgia, and discovered what they believed to be human remains. The homeowner found a bone sticking up from a shallow grave in the backyard of the residence. News reporters everywhere announced that LaTanya Janelle Carwell's remains were discovered in a shallow grave on Golden Camp Road. Janelle had recently visited the dentist before her disappearance, so dental records provided a positive identification. The only information released from the indictment regarding her final hours of life was that Janelle's death was caused by means and manner unknown to the grand jury, using Leon's hands and other objects unknown to the grand jury, objects which, when used offensively, resulted in serious bodily injury. It was also noted that her limbs were bound. Both Tanya and Leon were charged with murder. When coroner Mark Bowen was interviewed about the lack of information being provided to the public, he answered, "The information we have, some we're holding. The sheriff's department asked us and the DA to do this because we don't want to mess up any justice that Janelle deserves." Neither party entered a plea, and prosecutors continued building their cases. The district attorney announced that she would pursue the death penalty in Leon's case. She also alleged that Janelle's parents hired a hitman to kill their daughter. In court filings, the state intends to prove that on 3 occasions, Tanya and Leon sought out someone to kill Janelle, once in 2015 and twice more in 2016. Leon's attorneys announced they would challenge the death penalty and fight to remove all media from the trial to ensure Leon receives a fair trial. Ray Montana stated, "Perhaps they did solicit someone, but the facts still remain that everything's pointing at them, and I hope that they die by the hands of the state." He also said that when they were conducting searches near the property where Janelle's remains were found, a man came to the door and said, "You're going to have to get off this property." Ray continued, "I said, well, I know you're renting this property, but the owner told me that I could search this property." He said, "No, you don't. I had to leave that day." Ray then went to the Richmond County Sheriff's Department and informed them about the man, the property, and his assumptions about Janelle being buried there. The defense continued filing dozens of motions, and the district attorney argued against each one, ultimately delaying the trial. The defense also sought to exclude GPS phone tracking and family interviews from evidence. Meanwhile, the district attorney announced efforts to honor Janelle's memory by helping families. A German Shepherd and Malinois mix named Dora, trained to locate missing people, both dead and alive, was introduced, with plans to incorporate Janelle's name into Dora's title. Due to the pandemic, court proceedings faced additional delays. Tragically, Janelle's uncle, Charles Carwell, passed away before his sister was convicted and before his niece received justice. His obituary noted that he departed this life on August 17, 2019. It has been suggested that the family turmoil may have contributed to his death, though this remains unconfirmed. In October 2021, Leon's case was transferred to Chief Judge Daniel Jabe Craig, who scheduled a full day to address pending motions. However, Leon's newly assigned attorneys, his third legal team, were not prepared. His lead attorney, Adam Levin, claimed he had only received the case file 2 days earlier but assured the court that the delay was not a defense tactic. A subsequent hearing was set for December 14, 2021, when Judge Craig would schedule the trial. As this case remains ongoing, many questions and theories linger. Online comments suggest that the motive for Janelle's murder may have stemmed from her mother's jealousy and her stepfather's perverse intentions. Some speculate that pregnancy or sexual assault could have been factors, though these ideas remain unproven. Janelle's community continues to hold memorials in her honor. Her cousin has stated that the family is still grappling with the after-effects of her tragic death. Janelle has become a symbol for her community, remembered as their child. According to her obituary, Janelle's memory lives on through her sister, Tunisia Carwell, and her extended family of grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. This case remains deeply saddening, especially as many questions remain unanswered. What do you think the parents' motives truly were? And what will happen with the trials, given the lengthy delays? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to click the notification bell, like the video, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.